Hey, welcome to the Lutheran Worship Podcast, brought to you by the Center for Worship Leadership at Concordia University, Irvine. My name is Steve Zank, and joined by my co-host, Kip Fox, here today. Kip, how you doing?
Best day of my whole life.
That's incredible. That's incredible, man.
Well, every day to me, every new day is the best day of my life. I got to be honest. This is my philosophy in life, really.
Yeah, just the mornings.
No matter what.
Even in the summertime in Arizona.
Even the summertime in Arizona, come what may. Today's the best day of my life.
All right.
You know why? Because I'm living in the present. Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow has no guarantees. I'm right here, right now.
Right here, and together we're sitting here, and today we're going to be talking about looking for the good song for worship. Good songs for worship. Kip, how do you get into that? How do you know if a song's good for worship? What do you do?
Well, some would say that you just know when you know, but I think we're going to find out today there's several criteria that we could go through, and we will.
Yeah.
But it's a combination of things, Steve, and it depends on the context. I mean, it's all kinds of factors.
And sometimes we love it because we like the riff we get to play, on the guitar or the organ.
Sometimes it's a limitation, it's a song we just learned how to play, so we do that one.
Yeah. There's a lot of reasons that people pick songs in worship. And today, Kip and I are going to take a look at a dissertation by Gertrud Tönsing. And she wrote a dissertation called Searching for the Good Song, Determining the Qualities of Christian Songs Within the Polarities of Worship. Searching for the Good Song. And we'll use her framework, which is really helpful to get our minds around why we pick music. And so, Kip, we're just going to go through a bunch of different approaches to worship planning and song selection and think about it for a little bit, okay? So the first one she identifies for searching for a good song for worship is the emotional approach. This approach says a song is good if it's enjoyed by those who sing it, if it makes them feel energized, excited, or emotionally touched in some way. This idea, it's an emotional connection.
It's hard to necessarily. What's interesting is as song selectors, are we choosing songs that emotionally hit us in a way, or are we choosing songs that we know will emotionally engage the context of the folks that are coming? In pretty much all aspects, music should give you some sort of an emotional response, and if it doesn't, then it's probably not worth doing. Yeah. But again, that emotional response can be from a beautiful lyric or a beautiful melody. The combination of the two is always great. It can be something ancient. It can be something new.
For me, this song is How Great the Father's Love for Us. We sang that at my grandfather's funeral. And that song, every time I sing it, it really connects with me emotionally.
Yeah, how deep the Father's love for us.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Any songs like that for you that just kind of connect with you emotionally?
That's a good question, Steve. We're talking about worship songs.
Yeah.
Songs for worship. Well, I would say I've got to go with Abide With Me, every time. Just
really?
Oh, yeah, that one hits me big time. Something about that text is just really meaningful to me.
Yeah. The Fast Falls the Evening Tide, that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's one of our lenses. Sometimes we pick songs because of the way they affect us emotionally. The second approach that Dr. Tönsing identifies is the evangelistic approach. In this approach, a song is good if it fills the church and helps to spread the gospel by attracting people to worship in evangelistic events. So it's more of an attractional choice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, there's some very black and white ways to do it. I guess I'm trying to think of a more nuanced way of identifying a song as being evangelistic. Of course, you see a lot of congregations maybe insert a song that is popular in popular culture to talk about it.
Yeah, totally. I've seen that.
Or again, an ancient hymn that everybody knows, something like Amazing Grace, where you feel like folks in a community, even if maybe unchurched or dechurched, still understand that broadly used song and are attracted to that.
And I think some 20 years ago, maybe it's still the case, but definitely like 20 years ago, I would see examples of churches who would have like an evening service where the musical style was contemporary and it'd be like an outreach service. You know what I'm talking about?
Sure.
And they would do things way differently in hopes that people would be reached through the different styles of music.
Yeah.
As a musician, I did one of those, and it was funny because it was all the church members still who came to that service, and it didn't really reach any new people.
Well, I did one of those early on in ministry, and my pastor was very kind to let me try it out, and we made T-shirts and a big old poster and did a whole thing. It was called Twilight, I think. Very, very cool. And I wouldn't say that people from our church came. I would say nobody came. So
yeah.
It didn't really work, but it was the goal, evangelistic approach there.
That's the class of like worshiping to the audience of one, the 3-in-1.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah,
so that's the evangelistic approach. Another one she identifies is the aesthetic approach. This approach says a song is good if it meets artistic criteria regarding poetry and music. So it's kind of like a work of art. So like this song is a work of art, and that makes it good.
I think you could see that in instrumental music, or you could see that in a song that textually may or may not be well-rounded in the gospel, but is beautiful and poignant in some way that aesthetically attracts folks.
Yeah. In this view, then, in this particular aspect, if a song isn't really a work of art, if it falls short of kind of a higher culture view, then it's not a good song. See, that's kind of the shadow side of some of these things.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I can think of songs like that, songs that are musically excellent, have amazing preludes or really interesting harmonic choices, and are just pieces of art. Okay, we have, I think, 4 more approaches here that she offers. Okay. This one is the theological approach. So a song is good if the text meets a high theological standard or a criteria of quality. It has a proclamatory value. So those who are using this lens would say, what makes a song good is how theologically rich it is. So, I can think of some songs like that I sing, they're just really theologically rich, and I like that about those songs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say that probably our church body might put this criteria at the top or in the top couple of criteria.
Yeah, well, if a song does not have good theology, then it is not, in our view, it's not a good song for worship. So but
I think, when I see this, I see high theological criteria of quality, and I think a song can be theologically correct or right or true, but not necessarily be saturated with just a super high quality or depth. And I do feel that our folks love a depth of theology, and which may be hard to describe, but I think,
But there's still room for I am Jesus' little lamb.
Exactly.
There's still room for that.
Right.
And so the 6th approach she offers is the personal meaning approach.
Okay.
In this approach, a song is good if it has meaning in a person's life and people have strong personal memories associated with it. So a song is good as like a good friend. You're used to it. You're comfortable with it. I think every congregation has their list of hymns or songs that they're really used to, and they maybe have never even really evaluated the song in any other way except one of our songs we sing. I'm really comfortable with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think you could say that for old songs that personally mean something to us that may or may not have the right theological standard, or new songs that we just absolutely love without necessarily putting a microscope under them. Yeah. And you can certainly, there are a lot of songs that hit that target for a large group of people, depending on your church.
So Dr. Tönsing's real meaning here is we need to be careful. We can't just select one of these approaches, or else we end up in a weird spot. So if you're just using a aesthetic approach, or just using an emotional approach, or just using a theological approach, then you're actually missing out on what makes a song good for a congregational context. So Tönsing really drives us to think differently about song selection, to stop just picking a song because it's emotionally connected to us or has a lot of personal meaning, or just because it has a ton of theological richness, but she drives us to what she calls an integrated approach for selecting the good song. In her integrated approach, she says this: a song is good if it makes connections between words and music, between people, between theology and emotion, and many other such polarities. So this approach tries to bring together all the above approaches. So it's not just about being emotionally powerful, but it's about connecting the emotion with the theology. It's not just about having amazing music. It's about having amazing music that goes with words that draw out the meaning. The music draws out the meaning of the words and brings it to the people. So that's kind of a different way to think about selecting good music, is how do the songs make connections between things like that.
Yeah, and I think about not just selecting music. When I look at this, I think about writing music, writing a song for worship, and making those connections between words and music, between people, especially understanding there's a language as a writer that you have, and in some ways, and you can write to that language and bring some folks along with you in the process, or you can purposefully write for a context or a congregation or a people in a style and a textual depth that is appropriate to them. So not just when you're selecting, but as you write as well, you think about these polarities as you're doing that dance.
If your song is getting way too heady and theological without any emotional impact, let's draw that in the other direction. So that's great. So then she lays out her approach, and she suggests 4 different ways of evaluating a good song for worship, 4 of them. And the first is a good text. And for her, she thinks that's based on the wealth of Scripture in all its breadth, that's theologically sound, that the text is careful of misleading theology. It takes the human experience seriously, and it's readily understood. It can be simple, it can be repetitive, but it shouldn't be shallow. And in her mind, a good song with a good text is memorable. So that's kind of the text section of having a good song from her. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that the real trick there is, especially when evaluating or writing songs for worship, is the readily understood and memorable poetic value. That's the difficulty, along with the music and how to craft that. You know, I've always said that it's really easy to write songs, Steve. But it's really hard to write great songs. And oftentimes, whether you're selecting songs for a congregation or you're writing songs, you can fall into the trap of skipping over. You can get too far on the side of not being readily understood and not having memorable poetic value for the sake of theology or the sake of depth of Scripture.
Yeah.
And on the other side, you can have something that's very readily understood and memorable, but without a lot of depth. So again, there's the balance.
Let's talk about good tunes now. So that's the good text. Okay. Good tunes. Dr. Tönsing thinks that a good tune for a good song for worship, it should be singable by unmusical people. Singable by unmusical people. Interesting. That it does not depend on accompaniment, that you can always sing it without accompaniment even. Does not overuse current popular stylistic elements, and creates a balance between the easy and familiar and interesting. So the tune, she kind of looks like she likes it being stable, but interesting and singable.
Yeah.
One of the things
that sticks out to me when talking about overusing current popular stylistic elements, one of the things I see a lot in modern worship, we've gotten into a real infatuation with repeatable bridges. And so when I hear a song, there's a way in which oftentimes I'll hear a new song, whether a published song or just a writer that's working on something. And it's just, there's such a predictability to the you can kind of hear the way in which it's just going into this stock popular stylistic way of doing a bridge that works. And so I like that she says that. And that's just something that stuck out to me. There's a way with going with the style without really, jumping the shark as you might say.
just being formulaic,
Yeah, exactly.
but still being artistic piece.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah, and
so
obviously she's talking about being singable by unmusical people. We're talking about a song for congregational use,
yeah,
which is a skill as well, to write that way and to be disciplined to write that way.
all right. Third now, so good text, good tune. For finding a good song for worship, she also suggests a good match between the text and the tune. And for her, that means actually a monogamous match, which one text, one tune. So she doesn't want she's advocating for not fitting multiple tunes to the same text or multiple texts to the same tune, which we can do in a lot of hymnody. But I think she's looking for familiarity, that the text and the tune are matched. She wants the mood of the music to fit the mood of the text. She wants the rhythm of the music to fit the natural rhythm of the words.
Mm-hmm.
And she wants the climax of the tune to fit the climax of the poetry. So really, the text and the tune really work together to have that experience or impact.
Yeah, I would just love to be a fly on the wall as she's selecting songs. She's got a pretty high bar.
Yeah, these are great songs, right? They're talking about here.
Yeah, I'd love to see her. I'd love to see her PCO. Her last 8 weeks on PCO.
Maybe this is aspirational, and maybe you can't get all these at one time.
Sure. Yeah, this is.
Yeah, but you could tell these are good things.
This is something to strive for.
Okay, finally, then, this is actually related to the Weave software we developed, that she recommends that there's a good balance of polarities in your music. And in this way, she talks about good song selection isn't just weighed by each individual song, but good song selection is weighed according to the diet of music. Dr. Whitleaf talks about this a lot too, about song selection as a diet. So, is it okay to eat a filet mignon and asparagus one night? Yeah, of course. But every night, that's not going to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to have your grains, and there's a pyramid. There's an upside-down pyramid. I don't know how it works nowadays, but there's different food groups here, Kip.
Butter is good for you.
Butter is good for you
That's
again.
what I learned.
And eggs, I guess. But by the way, none of our dietary advice should be considered.
Yeah, no. I'm just hoping butter's good for me.
We're not experts in that field. But the idea here about the polarities is good songs taken across time in a diet should be cognitive and emotive. They should talk about the past and the present. They should talk about God as transcendent and holy and God as immanent. And this is part of the fullness of our experience, but also the fullness of God, that worship should be involved in all of these things. And so another way that we evaluate our song selection is not just per song, but according to our diet over time. And I'll just say a quick little plug. If you're using Planning Center online, you can actually log into our system, weaveworship.com, and it'll actually give you a diagnosis of your diet according to some polarities. It's a very interesting system, and make some suggestions on maybe where you could balance your diet. But that's another way that Dr. Tönsing suggests we think about good songs as a diet over time.
Yeah, and Steve, I think one of the best ways to do this talk about the polarities, or to evaluate those as a worship director, is in hindsight, is to look back and go, where have I been in the last few weeks, in the last year, in my entire career as a worship director. But it's tough to sit down and go, okay, well, I need a present song about the present, and we've been doing a lot of songs about the past lately. It's hard to just do that in the moment, but if you can go to our tool, or if you can just go back and look, it's really helpful to kind of go, oh, wow, I see what's going on here. And a lot of times I think it can just be a blind spot for music directors. But if you're out there in the congregation, there can be a real weariness to the same theological bent on a song over and over again, without any variety. Not only just for an individual, but you're not hitting a lot of different folks where they are. You're kind of hitting a small group in their life stage or in their worldview. And so, something to consider.
Yeah. And I think if you go back to her original list, you find a profound aspect to this whole endeavor, which is the reality that singing songs does a lot. It covers a lot of ground. And so the emotional approach, songs connect to our emotions. That's really important. The evangelistic approach, songs spread the gospel. They declare and proclaim Christ crucified. The aesthetic approach, songs inspire us. They say things in a new way that kind of gets through the calloused things in our faith to remind us of God's truth. The theological approach, we learn theology from our singing, and we learn about who Christ is for us and who God is and the love he has for us, and so many other things about who we are as God's people and vocation and the whole life of the Christian can be learned in music. The traditional approach reminds us that singing songs that our community are used to, it forms us and makes us a community. Actually, the songs we sing can play a role in the strength of our community. Personal meaning approach, that the songs that we lead people, some of them sink really deeply into our hearts and they have a lot of meaning. And we go home and we sing them and they comfort us. And so the reason why this really matters, I believe, is that picking good songs really has a strong, significant impact in the life of your congregation. So it's not just, what song should we sing today, but really you are giving the people of God a song to sing that's going to inform their whole life together as God's people. It's pretty incredible.
Love it.
Let's end with a quote from Dr. Tönsing. And this is her now talking about the way in which songs can work together. There's some comedy here. She says this: "There's no set of criteria that can absolutely predict the success or durability of a song. Sometimes great weaknesses seem to make no difference to the enjoyment of the song and its enduring popularity. And other worthy and meaningful songs just don't spread. However, the above criteria that we just talked about can point out the strengths and weaknesses of an individual song and perhaps indicate how it should be and can be used. Weaknesses in one song," and this is to your point about aspirational value and seeing her planning center, weaknesses of one song can be offset in another, used in the same worship service. Some worship leaders do this instinctively. Others may need a set of criteria as guidance. And the criteria she explores in the rest of her dissertation, which we can't get into because one topic at a time, right, Kip? But any practical take-home for you from today's episode?
Well, just again, we're talking about just challenging our song selection, and as we seek to be well-rounded directors of music, directors of parish music, worship leaders, we just want to continually do what we can to give our people the gospel in all its glory and point to Jesus in every way possible. And so I think it's really healthy for us to go through this, to think about it, to talk with our teams about it. It's an ever-evolving thing. We all evolve and change as human beings. Our life stages that we go through change. We can often sort of bring our songs along with us in our own world. And so to be able to step back and have this tool, these criteria, is just really helpful for us to have a well-rounded approach.
And if you want, in the comments, tell us one of your favorite good songs, and we'll see what you got there. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Lutheran Worship Podcast. We'll see you next time.